eHub, Team Software's employee self-service portal, puts powerful operations and HR data in the hands of your employees. Deliver pay stub and W-2s electronically to employees, saving time, paper, and postage. Arm your supervisors with budget comparison reports, timekeeping review tools, employee data, and quality assurance data. Currently, Team Software supports 160,000 employee users on eHub who take advantage of online pay stub and HR information. In addition, approximately 4,000 supervisors across the country use eHub every day to effectively manage their employees and accounts. Learn more at teamsoftware.com today.
Welcome to Tripodcast, episode 283. It's Monday, April 15th, and Dick Ollek asks, do you know your real costs? In last week's Tripodcast, Dick talked about the fiscal cliff and your own business fiscal cliff. In this Tripodcast, he continues that theme and helps you think about how you can examine your real costs to keep you from walking over that cliff. Let's listen in.
Did you ever present a proposal to a prospect and you left there and you just knew that you were going to get that business? You know, they had all the buying signs, they were looking at you positively, and they liked what they saw on the proposal, and you asked, do you have any questions? And they said, oh gosh, they're all the answers are in here, and it's just wonderful. You guys really are doing a good job in this proposal, and we really like what we're seeing. Then you get that phone call that says, man, you had a great proposal. Thank you very much. It really was great. But we decided we needed to go with somebody else. And you came in second. Well, my question always was, what do you pay for second? You know, if you're in the sports world, I never understood this, but that's the way it works. You get the big money, of course, for winning the World Series or the NBA title, but the teams that are in second, third, and fourth always get some playoff money too. And I thought, we don't get playoff money. You know, we either come in first or we come in last. You know, second is as good as last in the business we're in, isn't it? Because if you don't get first, you don't get nothing. You know, and so of course, you ask the obligatory question, you know, what happened? And they will then tell you something like, well, you know, the proposals were close and you're both great companies, but they were just a few dollars less than you, and we decided we had to be good stewards of our stockholders' money and take their proposal. And so let me ask you, do you really know, as a BSC, I'm asking you now, do you really know what a loaded hour of your labor costs? Many BSCs say that, well, I'm going to use 15% on top of, if I'm paying $10, I'll just use 15%, and I'll use $11.50 as my hourly wage. Or they'll say I'm going to use 30%, and I'll use $13. And when you're bidding or proposing and putting pricing together, there I use that terrible word of bidding, but when you're putting in pricing in your proposal, you need to have an exact cost. So you look through that, and if you're looking at $10 an hour, you got FICA of 7.65%. You're going to have workers' comp, you know, somewhere between 3 and 15%. It varies by state. You're going to have state unemployment tax. Again, that varies by state. In fact, some states now they've assessed a surcharge on top of the normal rate because they're trying to refill the coffers from the high unemployment. Then you've got a federal unemployment tax. I think it's 0.8% on a $6,000 or $8,000 worth of labor. And then you've got general liability, and then you've got bonding. And do you really know what your rates are? And when you get into a really competitive situation and you've laid all your cards on the table and your competitors laid all their cards on the table, and that buyer has to make a decision, and you've kind of left it in the buyer's hand now. It's down between you and someone else. And if you'd like to think you've done a great selling job, that the dollars aren't the thing that sells it, but many times it does. We know that. So have you really figured what your real labor dollar is costing you? The interesting thing I've heard people say, I bid $10,300 on this job and the guy got it for $99.50. I could have done it for $99.50. I could have put a price in there. Well, then why didn't you? If that was your best price, you should have put it in there. But nevertheless, that's the labor. What is your true? Let me suggest to you that you know exactly what your loaded labor rate is per hour. This goes along with the old fiscal cliff thing that we talked about in a previous podcast about knowing what your costs are, knowing what your budgets are, knowing what it's costing you to do business. Do you really know what your supply cost is? I hear this all the time. I'll just use 5%. Well, is 5% the real number? Is this an account that you could get by with very few supplies, maybe 1% or 2%? Or is this an account that's going to take a lot of floor finish because it's all tile floors, VCT, and your supplies are going to be 6%? Either way, you're wrong by using 5. So find out what it really is going to be. And what about some companies put all of their vacuum cleaners, everything into their supply costs. So they're looking at 12, 13, 14%. Should you be depreciating some of that, some of those things? But let me suggest that you today review your exact costs of what is really a loaded labor rate, what is really the supply costs. Because some accounts require a piece of equipment that maybe you have to lease for just that job. That has to be entered in there. On the flip side of that is maybe you have to provide a piece of equipment that you had purchased 3 years ago that still operates really well, and you can use that piece of equipment in this account and you've already depreciated the equipment so that you don't have that cost, and that can put you at a competitive advantage. You don't have to put in depreciation or lease payments for that piece of equipment. These are all things that need to be entered into when you're looking at what is it really costing me to do business. Review your costs. Know exactly what your costs are before you do your next proposal. It just might make the difference in getting you a new account or getting that call that said you came in second. Thanks for watching and listening.
You've been listening to a Tripodcast, short video and audio presentation about important topics in our industry. If you're a current subscriber to the Tripodcast, thank you. We appreciate it. If you're not yet a subscriber, please check it out. It's free and it's easy. Come to www.tripodcast.com, enter your email address on the right-hand column, and click subscribe. We'll send you out a new Tripodcast every Monday morning.